x, little x is just generator of z. So I take capital X to be just this one element. Now let's think about the graphs. What is gamma sub g in this case? Well, you include h in the set of generators, so you have gamma sub h here, and you have its shift, let's call it x gamma sub h here, and then you have x inverse gamma sub h here, and so on, and so on. And between the corresponding points, so this is say identity, this is x inverse, this is x, between the corresponding points, you have edges labeled by x, right? And so on. So it's not a locally finite space. So this is complete graph on count of remaining vertices if my group H is countable, subgroup H is countable. And up to quasi-isometry, it's just a line, right? It's quasi-isometric to a line. So the first condition in the definition holds true. Now let's try to think about the second condition. So suppose we have two elements. So here is my element G, and here's my element H. What's the distance between G and H? Well, I cannot go straight, right? But I can always go to the nearest coset, say x gamma sub h, and then in this coset there is an edge between this vertex and this vertex. In this coset, every two vertices are still connected by an edge. So I go here, I go back. So what is the distance between G and H? The distance between G and H is at most 3 for every G and H. What it means that if H is infinite, in this case, H is not hyperbolically embedded in G with respect to this x. Because the first condition holds true, but the second condition from the definition is violated. Right? What?
Your atom is
Yes. So,
does that also hold the semi-direct product? If you've done a semi-direct product there.
well, if you think a little bit, you realize that first of all, H is not hyperbolically embedded in G with respect to any set. And by the way, we say that H is hyperbolically embedded into G if there exists X in G such that H is hyperbolically embedded in G with respect to X. So in this case, H is not hyperbolically embedded with respect to any generating set. And if you think about this a bit more, you will realize that every hyperbolically embedded group is almost malnormal, which means it intersects its conjugate, non-trivial conjugate, by a finite subgroup. So in particular, of course, semi-direct products also don't work. Okay? So now let's take G to be the free product. And again, we do the same thing. So X consists of a generator of Z. The picture changes quite a bit here. So we have this gamma sub H. Now our space has sort of tree-like structure. It's difficult to draw it because it's not a locally finite tree. It's a locally it's not even a tree. So it's like a tree, but vertices are replaced with complete graphs. So this is, say, X gamma sub H. This is X inverse gamma sub H, but there are lots of them. So now if you take any G here and H here, so remember, we exclude all edges of gamma H. So what is the shortest path which connects G to H in this complement? There is no such a path, because if you go out of this coset, you have to go back. It's tree-like structure. So in this case, the distance between G and H is infinite if G is not equal to H. Which means that in this situation, both conditions from the definition hold true. So the first condition is true because this is quasi-isometric to a tree, and the second condition is true because the distance between any two non-trivial, different elements is given. So in this case, H is hyperbolically embedded into G with respect to X. Okay. So now, as I said, our intention was to generalize the notion of a relatively hyperbolic group. So, in what sense does it generalize? Well, here's a theorem, which is not very difficult. There will be several theorems from our paper with François de Manier and Sam Girardel, which abbreviate all the names. The theorem says that a group G is hyperbolic relative to a subgroup H if and only H is hyperbolically embedded into Gx for some finite subset F of G. So if you are already familiar with the notion of a relatively hyperbolic group, that's a theorem. If you are not, that's a definition. Well, and of course, everything can be generalized to the case of a collection of subgroups. I restrict to just one subgroup in my lecture to simplify all the notation, but everything can be done, and it is done in our paper for general collection of subgroups. Okay? So what it means that we don't get anything new or anything interesting if we just consider finite generating sets. Then we just get the class of relatively hyperbolic groups. So in this situation, of course, G is hyperbolic relative to H, and in this case, you all know it's not. So that's why those examples work. Interesting examples are, of course, when X is infinite. So what are examples of non-degenerate hyperbolically embedded subgroups in groups which are not relatively hyperbolic? Well, there are several of them. The most general result is the following. Suppose that a group G acts on a hyperbolic space, and G in G is a loxodromic WPDL. I hope you still remember the definition of the WPD property from the first lecture. If you don't, well, if the action is acylindrical, every loxodromic element is W, right? Then there exists a maximal virtually cyclic subgroup E of G in G, which contains my element G, such that this subgroup is hyperbolically embedded into my group. Well, as I said, hyperbolically embedded subgroups must be almost non-normal. So passing from the cyclic subgroup generated by G to a maximal virtually cyclic subgroup is unavoidable. So the cyclic subgroup generated by G is not necessarily hyperbolically embedded because it's not necessarily malnormal, right? Even the fact that there exists a maximal virtually cyclic subgroup is non-trivial because in general there may not exist maximal such a subgroup, right? There may exist an increasing sequence of elementary subgroups containing G which stabilizes if there's some group which is, say, cyclic by locally finite or something like that. are more particular examples. Suppose that G is the mapping class group of a surface with p punctures, sorry, of genus G with p punctures, and G in G is pseudo-anosov, then G is contained in a maximal elementary subgroup, which is maximal virtual cyclic subgroup, which is hyperbolically embedded into capital G. The mapping class groups are normally not relatively hyperbolic unless it's a mapping class group of small complexity, in which case it's just hyperbolic. Otherwise, there is too much commutativity because then twists commute and generate the whole group. It's fairly easy to show that, say, mapping class group of a non-exceptional surface is never relatively hyperbolic. Nevertheless, there are some hyperbolically embedded subgroups. You can ask what is the generating set here. Well, the generating set here will consist of stabilizers of all vertices in the curve complex. So there is a generating set of the mapping class group so that the corresponding Kelly graph is equivariantly quasi-isometric to the curve complex, and you just take that generating set. And second example, if G is out Fn and G in G is fully irreducible, which means irreducible means that it doesn't preserve any proper free factor up to conjugacy, and fully reducible means that the element is irreducible and all powers, not trivial powers, are irreducible. Then, in this situation, you have the same conclusion. And in this case, instead of the curve complex, you can use, say, the free factor. Okay. Well, another theorem, which I will not use today, but I'll use it later, so I'll state it today. For every acylindrically hyperbolic group, there exists, let's say, for every n natural number, there exists a hyperbolically embedded subgroup of G. Well, you can ask, in these examples, all hyperbolically embedded subgroups are virtually cyclic. Are there non-virtually cyclic examples? Here they are. So there exists a hyperbolically embedded subgroup which is isomorphic to Fn, which is the free group on n generators, cross a finite group. And this guy is hyperbolically embedded. So the reason I wanted to mention this is that there are several nice theorems which allow you to extend some nice properties of hyperbolically embedded subgroups, for example, existing of some sort of nice actions or existence of non-trivial quasimorphisms, which is related to bounded homology and so on, to the corresponding properties of G. So this general statement allows you, if you want to deal with general asymmetrically hyperbolic groups, and you know that the property you care about extends in this way, then you can just deal with the free group, which is much easier. So you'll see some examples later today. And now I want to state the group theoretic analog of the Thurston theorem. So again, in the form, I'm going to state that it's proved that my paper was François and Son, and originally it was first proved for relatively hyperbolic groups in my paper in 2007, and there was an independent proof for torsion-free groups by Daniel Groves and Jason Manning. Also in the case of relatively hyperbolic groups, or torsion-free relatively hyperbolic groups. So this is a more general result. Suppose that G is an acylindrically, one more thing. So one more theorem from GGO. That's a nice paper with lots of theorems, probably suitable for Mark's journal. Except that it's 150 something pages long. I'm not sure if Mark is willing to accept. Mark is not here. But anyway, it's already accepted, so it's still here in the memoirs of the Mathematical Society. Anyway, the theorem is this. What's the relation between having hyperbolically embedded subgroups and being acylindrically hyperbolic? Well, if you are acylindrically hyperbolic, you always have non-degenerate hyperbolically embedded subgroups. It turns out that the other direction is also true. So a group G is acylindrically hyperbolic if and only if G contains non-degenerate hyperbolically embedded subgroups.
You forgot to define on the sentence.
Yeah, I didn't define it.
It's not zero or one.
Okay.
Not of this sort. Proper and improper, right? Suppose now, let's go. Theorem, suppose that G is acylindrically hyperbolic and H is hyperbolically embedded into G with respect to some relative generating set. Then there exists a finite subset F of H minus the identity element such that for every normal subgroup in H satisfying M intersects F trivially, we have the following. Let me first state the theorem and then we will discuss it. So first, if you take H mod N and look at G mod the normal closure of N, so N is a normal subgroup of H. It's not necessarily normal in G, right? So when you take the normal closure of N in G, it will be bigger. Think about the following situation. G is a simple group. Of course, it cannot be acylindrically hyperbolic, but let's just think about this example. G is a simple group. H is, say, Z, infinite cyclic subgroup inside. Whenever you take any non-trivial normal subgroup of H, take its normal closure in G, it kills everything, right? In particular, it kills the original subgroup. So there is no, in general, embedding from this quotient into this quotient. This embedding only exists by the isomorphism theorem if this normal closure meets H exactly in M, right? So the first statement is that this is an embedding. So there is an embedding. And second, that this is a hyperbolic embedding. So this quotient is hyperbolically embedded here with respect to X bar, where X bar is the image of X. Second statement which I want to mention is the structure of this normal closure. So this is a free product of conjugates of N for some choice of conjugating elements. And there are lots of other things. So it's a long theorem which has like probably 10 statements. So you can prove lots of other things, but I'm just going to talk about this. So in particular, if G was hyperbolic, relative to H, then G modulo the normal closure of N is hyperbolic relative to H mod n. Right? Why? Because of the first statement. So if G was hyperbolic relative to H, we would take X to be finite because of that C, which characterizes relative hyperbolicity. Right? And then, of course, if this X was finite, then its image is also finite. This was the original statement in my case about relative hyperbolic groups. So this is just generalization. So now, first of all, I want to explain that this implies this algebraic statement of the Thurston theorem, and therefore geometric statement modulo the geometrization conjecture, because in case when G is the fundamental group of my manifold M, and H is the fundamental group of the boundary of my manifold, which is Z plus Z. In this case, G is hyperbolic relative to H under the assumptions of the Thurston theorem that was proved by Farr, or just follows from the definition if you want to accept Gromov's definition of relative hyperbolic group. Depends. So G is hyperbolic relative to H. Now what my theorem says, so remember, phi 1 of n of sigma is the quotient group of phi 1 of n modulo the normal closure of sigma, which is G modulo the normal closure of sigma. So I just apply my theorem to the subgroup n, which is a cyclic subgroup generated by sigma, which is of course normal in H, because every subgroup is normal in H. So if sigma does not belong to the finite set of exceptional slopes, you can always ensure this condition, right? So this condition, it just prohibits some finite set of bad elements. So if sigma is non-exceptional, so for all but finitely many sigma, the conditions of this theorem are satisfied, and therefore the first statement tells me, or rather its corollary, tells me that G mod the normal closure, so this phi 1 of n of sigma, is hyperbolic relative to H mod n. But what is H mod n in this case? It is cyclic, or virtually cyclic. Well, it depends whether you work in the category of manifolds or orbifolds. If you want the resulting thing to be a manifold, sigma should be a primitive element, in which case H mod n is cyclic. If you are willing to deal with orbifolds, in which case the theorem is also true, it will be virtually cyclic. Now you have a group which is hyperbolic relative to a virtually cyclic subgroup. Being hyperbolic relative to the hyperbolic group is the same as being hyperbolic. So the conclusion is that this group is hyperbolic in this case. That follows. And that's exactly the statement of Thurston's. Right? Okay, I think we started in the statement in minutes. So let me just mention one more corollary from this. Now I want to tell you how to use the second. I want to show one application of the second statement of the theorem. Let's take for every non-exceptional mapping class group, which means for all but finitely many mapping class groups, every such a group contains a normal, non-trivial, purely pseudo-anosov subgroup. So first the proof. Take G to be pseudo-anosov. Then you know that the elementary subgroup corresponding to G is hyperbolically embedded into G. So without loss of generality, by passing to subgroup of finite index, you may think that G is normal here. And then apply part 2 of the previous theorem to n, which is equal to g to the some power, which is still normal in my h, which is p over g. So we need to pass to a power to make sure that this condition is satisfied, that n doesn't meet any finite set, fixed finite set of values. So then the second condition of the theorem tells me that the normal closure of g to the m is free. Well, the theorem tells me that it's a free product of copies of n. N is a cyclic, infinite cyclic subgroup in this case. Free product of infinite cyclic subgroups is free. So this solves a problem which was open for like 20-something years. It was not known whether there exists a normal, non-trivial, purely Pseudo-Anosov subgroup in every mapping class group. Now, purely Pseudo-Anosov means that every element of this subgroup is Pseudo-Anosov. So it doesn't follow immediately from what I wrote, but the third condition in